Hello, and welcome to Tech Latest by Nikkei Asia, where we bring you the freshest updates from the technology sector in Asia. Every episode, one of our reporters from the region will be filling us in on the tech news on their radar, from semiconductors in China to space travel in Japan to startups in Indonesia. From Nikkei Asia's Tokyo headquarters, I'm Alice French. In this episode, my colleague Jada Nagumo is talking to Cissy Zhou, our senior business news correspondent based in Hong Kong, about China's race to build its own version of ChatGPT.
Hi, Cissy. Thank you for hopping on the podcast today.
Hi, Jada. Thanks for having me today.
So you recently wrote a business feature story on China's AI frenzy. Can you introduce the piece? And I'd also like to know what made you realize this should be a story.
Yes, sure. So the story is about how artificial intelligence keeps sweeping China, particularly in terms of the so-called large language models. The technology underpins chatbots like ChatGPT, Bing, and Bard. To train large language models, you need to use advanced algorithms and computing power. So basically, you feed the system vast amounts of data sets and train it. Ultimately, it will generate human-like responses. So the logic is that after consuming massive data sets, the machine will be able to predict one word after another, and it will have a human-like tone. A large language model can be used as a foundation model to develop other applications. So it has great potential and may greatly change our life in the future. Why I wrote the story? It's because in the past few months, more than 30 Chinese institutions have announced that they are developing their own large language models. Then I was like, this industry has a quite high bar. And does China really need so many large language models? Also, you need to burn a lot of cash in developing those models. And there's no way that small companies can do it. So I was wondering, what is the outlook for those newcomers? Are investors really buying it? And what will be the consequences for this gold rush freezing? That's why I did the story.
So as you mentioned, a lot of Chinese investors are scrambling to ride this AI boom, but who exactly are they? And which fields within AI are they looking at?
So those entities include tech giants such as Alibaba, Tencent, Baidu, and Huawei, which is quite nature actually, because I understand that they have to catch up with their Western counterparts, right? But universities, state-backed institutions, and even entrepreneurs new to the AI also said that they are working on their own large language models, which is a little bit crazy. I can give you an example of how crazy it is. In February, shortly after ChatGPT went viral on social media, Wang Huiwen, the co-founder of Chinese food delivery platform Meituan, posted on social media that he would develop a large language model to create China's ChatGPT. But this guy has no experience with AI at all. And until last year, he was actually claiming that he was studying metaverse. In his post, he said that he's investing $50 million to create China's open AI. He also said that he currently doesn't understand AI technology, but he's working hard to learn. I do appreciate his honesty, and he doesn't know this technology. But I think this is a very good example to show that some people are regarding this new technology as a gold rush. And back to your question about which fields within AI are they looking at? In general, tech giants like Baidu, Alibaba, and Tencent, they are developing their own models. And some other AI companies tend to plug AI models into tightly focused verticals or their target market. For example, they're trying to use AI to generate photos or videos for marketing. However, this something that I want to add is it is also a fact that many Chinese institutions, they are just fine-tuning open source foundation models and using relatively cheap APIs like ChatGPT to generate data first. And then they claim that they are developing their own models.
So these entrepreneurs and tech giants, they don't really mind how much money they're pumping into these new projects?
I think some of them are definitely looking at the great commercial potential in China. According to market research firm IDC, China's market for AI software and applications is projected to be over $21 billion by 2026. Also, after ChatGPT was introduced, industry experts in China believe that we have entered a new era of large language models, and many feel that it is worth revisiting and reworking all products from scratch, which means they will have to, redesign the apps. And that consensus also implies the huge potential in the Chinese market. I also want to point out that, most Western apps and websites are blocked in China. Given ChatGPT has shocked the public, and there's no way for China to allow ChatGPT to exist in the country because its answers cannot be controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, right? So China will need its own equivalent of ChatGPT. In that case, whoever can create the first large language model that is the most close to ChatGPT will have bigger potential to have bigger market share in the future.
I see. That's quite a forecast. Is it only the private sector, like the businesses and entrepreneurs you mentioned, that has its eye on AI, or is the government also making any moves?
The Chinese government has introduced policies to support the AI industry and is trying to turn the country into a world leader in the field, because AI is so important to national security and global competitiveness. Early this year, the Beijing municipal government specifically pledged to support companies to build large language models to compete against ChatGPT. That is very clear. And then also the Chinese Communist Party, they said that the country will foster scientific research by focusing on fields including AI, quantum information, and microchips. But it has also signaled restrictions on developments. For example, China's top cyberspace watchdog has issued a proposed rule stating that the content created using generative AI should reflect socialist core values. That means that, companies need to spend a lot of efforts working on the self-censorship. Otherwise, their products will be doomed 100%. In addition, Chinese President Xi Jinping has also urged improvements in the security governance of artificial intelligence recently. So those are all the potential holders for Chinese tech companies to develop their own large language models.
Well, thank you so much, Cissy, for diving into your great story. Are there any other tech-related stories you would like to recommend to our readers this week?
Yeah, sure. I'd like to recommend a story by my colleague Tsubasa, which is about the funding window for startups in Southeast Asia. The reason for the chill is that venture capitalists are lowering their valuations of fledgling companies after the poor performance of regional rockstar companies like Grab and GoTo. As a result, investors have become more cautious with where and how much they invest. So you can find more details in our website. Thanks.
That's all for this episode. You can read more of Cissy's reporting, along with a host of other stories about Asia's tech industry, on Nikkei Asia's website, asia.nikkei.com. And if you like what you hear, why not subscribe to our weekly Tech Asia newsletter, which will be delivered to your inbox every Thursday. There's a link to sign up in the show notes. And check back in next time for more updates on the tech trends that matter.